Alright, guys, I think I'm on, but I can't find my. Okay. So, just bear with me here. Guys, I feel like my computer is acting up, so it might not stay the way that I want it to. So I'm just gonna rush through everything and hopefully I'm gonna go through. Oh man, see, that's this all the time. This is aggravating, you guys. I'm telling you, my computer is acting up. Really bad. Real bad. I mean, it's an old computer. What can you expect here? Now I can't even show anything. So, hold on, you guys. I don't know what is going on. You know what? It could be Chrome that has a problem here. So let me. Oh man, not even that. Okay, guys. So I guess I'm just gonna do this as a podcast. Perhaps. I think this is all I could do for today. So I don't have anything on the screen anywhere. I couldn't open my browser. Not quite sure what's going on here either. You might not even hear me. Okay, it looks like it's recording. So, been acting up like crazy. Not quite sure what's happening here. I'm trying to open some files here. Let's see if that would work. Okay, so file stuff worked, but for some reason my browser doesn't work. Man, this is bad. I might need a new computer, you guys. But anyway, so I'll just do it on the whim. Freestyle or something, okay? There's no computer. I can't even see your chat even. So it's gonna be a quick one, okay? I'm just gonna use my phone, I guess, as a reference. Now, I was gonna show a video and everything, so it's not gonna be a good show, I feel. But you know what? It is what it is. So the title of this, so again, like if you just joined this, I cannot read your chats today. I apologize. I have no idea what's happening, but let's just make this a quick video. Just pretend this is a pre-recorded one, okay? So apologize for that again. All right, so today it was a doozy. Not much going on with GameStop. The price $26.60. That's it's not too bad either. It's like it's holding that level quite well. Now there's no thumping today. Now for those of you who doesn't know what thumping means, it just means that price spike for that for that one share, right? That usually just jump to like 26.69, 28.69 and all that stuff. So we think that is Roaring Kitty kind of trolling. But today we didn't see that at the overnight market. I mean, again, typically it doesn't mean anything, right? Who knows if it's actually that or just market maker just trying to, mimic Roaring Kitty. Who knows, right? That could also happen too. Don't be fooled too much as if like, oh, something's gotta happen today or tomorrow or whatever time frame that you think it might happen. Of course, there's a lot of date, like, when people tell you what date it is, oh, this date is gonna run, this date is gonna, they've been doing that since January, you guys, okay? So, just understand that there's, perhaps there are copycats out there, that there's a prime incentive for people to mimic, Roaring Kitty, what he might be doing, okay? Not to say that Roaring Kitty is not real. I'm just saying that, that's also can happen too. So when people presenting you dates and all that stuff, just understand that perhaps, again, those can be a trap as well, so that you could buy call option. Okay. So, now, but that being said, I'm not saying, do whatever you want to do. It's your money, right? If you want to bet up and down and all that stuff, just understand the market. I just ask you guys to understand the market before you do that. But if you don't want to do that, it's okay. When you want to lose money before that, it's okay too. Hey, this is what the market's for, right? For people to win, for people to lose, and then they just learn through that, hopefully, right? But anyway, so back to the price chart here. We see a kind of rounding formation here, or half moon, formation. So the idea is that the momentum is kind of like dying down. Not to say that the overall trend is not going up, just saying the short term, chaos that is happening in the market as well. If you saw the news, Taiwanese currency versus dollar kind of collapse in that sense. But we all know that, DXY is going to come down and all that stuff. And this is what Trump wants. Whether he intentionally doing that or, intentionally causing the market to, or at least, try to force Jerome Powell's hand to lower the rate. Now, Jerome's going to talk in 2 days. And so who knows if he's going to lower the rate. If not, then Scott Bessent's already promised to buy the bond in order to prop up the bond market. Okay, so when the Fed is not willing to lower the rate so that, the economy could breathe a little, for whatever data that they're, using in order to find the excuse to keep the rate high or stable at a longer period of time. You know how he's always like, oh, we're data dependent and all that stuff, right? It's bull crap, right? I mean, look, people are getting laid off left and right. When he was supposed to raise the rate, he didn't raise any rate, saying it's transitory, even though, we know that it's going to go crazy, that inflation is going to stick, okay, for quite some time before it's gonna stabilize. And even when it's stabilized, look how long it's been taking already since COVID. I can't believe it's been 5 years already, you guys. So this type of thing is very detrimental to the market. But again, he doesn't care about the mainstream market. No, he cares about maintaining his and his friends balance sheets here, in terms of like investing and all that stuff, right? So if if you're insider, obviously you're going to benefit for quite a bit, unless you into Bitcoin. Obviously Bitcoin's going to do pretty well in the face of chaos here. Not to say that the price won't come down real quick and to scare so many people to say that, oh, the world's going to end tomorrow, right? That's also happened too, right? Could happen within this couple months. So understand, Warren Buffett is stepping down. That's usually like it's the perfect time, right? For things to hit the fan. And on top of that, he has the biggest cash pile of US dollar. So the confidence in the US dollars is still there. But also too, he did say something about how the US dollar, the biggest concern that he had for the US dollar is the fact that the government keep debasing its currency. And it's like a given, that world governments out there, doesn't matter whether you're a dictatorship, democracy and all that stuff. It really doesn't matter. The tendency for the government to keep debasing their own dollar, their own currency, it's almost a given. Like, just count on it, okay? And so over time, the value of your dollars, yen, whatever, even Taiwanese dollar, is going to go down. With the exception, of course, why is it good for Bitcoin? Well, because again, debasement, right? Even bond too. What did you just hear about bond buybacks? Yes, Scott Bessent just promised that he's going to buy the bond back. Okay, so that means lower rate. Okay, more supply of bond, more supply of debt. Okay, and so even the value of your, your value of your bond can come down too, because the supply is there still, right? But slightly, obviously, right? Typically, this type of asset is more secure, right, than gold even, okay, because it has some yield to it, okay. But still, if they could buy the bond back, that means they have to print the money to buy the bond back, right? How did they print the money? By borrowing against it. So it's just like a infinite loop here that eventually is gonna debase the dollar. So what does that mean? It means Bitcoin's gonna go higher, gold's gonna go higher. Yes, just expect it. The chaotic things that is happening because of the trade war and all that stuff. Of course, brands just show Trump kind of give a heads up already within a couple weeks here. And so perhaps that's another signal for these people to get out. And so, of course, if you're smart, right, you would buy some puts. Okay. Now, hopefully, within this couple of weeks, you don't want to buy puts right now because, there's the global money supply kind of go higher. Okay. And so with that chart, if you would compare Bitcoin with global money supply going higher, then the SPY is going to go higher as well. But you have to buy puts when it drops, and Trump kind of clue you in already, which is like 2 or 3 more weeks, right? Whenever he announced the tariffs and all that stuff again. So again, this is just a show, right? And whoever smart enough to figure out how to play the market then will be able to benefit from it. And who knows more than the hedge funds out there. So of course he's kind of give everybody a heads up here. For the rest of us though, unless you know how to play this, look, I don't claim to know how to play this either. I just know that eventually, even if Bitcoin's going to come down in price due to the chaos that happened, eventually it's going to go higher, right? Because of the debasement of the dollar. So what would be the best? Yes, gold would be the next best thing with Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin is going to be superior due to, the generational thing here, right? Younger people are more likely to invest in Bitcoin than gold itself in 30 years, okay? So if gold do well, then Bitcoin's going to do much better in 30 years. Does that make sense? So the trend is the rate of change for Bitcoin is a lot higher than gold. All right. So I know I'm going to repeat this again. I'm not able to see the chat. And, just in case somebody just joined or whatever, because my computer is acting up. So never mind. There you go. Let's see what else. MicroStrategy. I want to kind of touch on that. Actually, the GME's selling stores from Canada. Let's go on that one topic here, because again, like it seems like scare people a little bit, huh? It's like, the selling store again. Well, we know all that already, right? Because Brian Cohen actually advertised it, like, on his Twitter. It's like, hey, whoever wants to buy the Canadian job, and France. So France going to be next. We already know that it's coming. So it's nothing new here to be scared of or anything like that. Now, the reason why, perhaps, again, he knows that Canada is going to be a nightmare to do business over there because of the, trade war within the U.S. and Canada, and Canada is going to be suffering so much more due to that, right? Of course, the new president could grandstand all they want, but you saw I showed a video about how Barbados, trying to join the 51 state of the U.S. Hey, that's I don't know if it's gonna happen, but that could also be the reason why Ryan Cohen kind of like want to sell off everywhere else but the U.S. Again, perhaps again, he's Canadian, so he knows how difficult it is to do business over there. Perhaps it's a smart move, in my opinion. Who knows, right? I might be wrong too, or he might be wrong too. So who knows? Based on everyone estimates, U.S. gonna fall, and I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, Bitcoin is going to be the world reserve currency, right? So it's more risky not to have Bitcoin per se. And so if GME were to add Bitcoin to their balance sheets, obviously that's going to be a safe haven for companies to do. When Warren Buffett is kind of scared, as he was stated, that the U.S. dollars, as strong as it is, as the world reserve as it is, it still has that flaw that it could crumble, because of the monetary policy and the regulator who doesn't regulate the main thing that is plaguing this market. Okay, and what it is a over leverage play on everything. Okay, even the treasury bonds, even on anything at all that has to do with asset, they get to borrow against those assets. And when you borrow on top of borrow, they call it rehypothecation, right? And if one party cannot pay the other party back for whatever reason, everyone suffer. Okay. And so if the U.S. were to default on its loan, oh, the calamity, right? But guess what would save it? Bitcoin. I'm telling you, again, like as simple as that, or any other coins that you have. Probably Doge would be better off than the dollar. It's crazy to say, right? Crazy to think about even. But we're probably like 10 years ahead of that. Who knows, right? Just predicting a doomsday here. But hey, it's easier to prepare, right? Than saying sorry later. I don't know what the solution is. I'm sure the solution for the government is to print more money. And so I'm excited for the crypto space in general. And what else here? But yeah, I mean, and of course, GME as well. Now, as far as the new date to look out for is May 12th. I've heard that throwing around. So understand that, that date was speculated because Ron Kitty a year ago tweeted May 12th. And who knows if that's the cycle that he just kicked in because of that tweet, right? It just blow up the share price so much that they perhaps enter into a swap of some sort that lasts a year just to get rid of the obligation at the time. But you know how the price spiked back then. It went from $10 to $80 and then back down to $20, like a wild swing of volatility there. So, and subsequently, obviously, he exercised those calls into shares, and who knows if they still have those shares for him deliver the shares and FTDs and all that stuff. And of course, we've seen a lot of redemptions on uh, ETF, XRT, all of that activity that a lot of people are tracking. So I wouldn't put it past them that something might happen sooner. Now, as far as the company goes, we know that, right? The company is the balance sheet is pretty strong. I know, people probably gonna be like, well, they're not doing anything much. The operational costs and just to keep the store open is really high. They're not making money even. Okay, so and they were making a conclude. There was an article, Seeking Alpha or something. Or it might be another outlet, but they were saying how GME was actually not profitable enough, and that the loss per share is being spread out because of the dilution. So had they're not diluted, it would have been losing more per share. To that I say, sure, that can be true, but the dollar amount would only be what, $28. I mean $28. Why am I saying 28? The trailing 12. Okay, it's I think $17 million. There you go. $17 million in the negative. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it is a pain point for sure. But is it going to cripple the company though? I don't think so. Okay, because they had $1 billion. Had they never diluted the share ever, and so with that, argument though, I still think it's kind of weak to say that, well, because of the core business, they're not really making money and they would have lose more if they hadn't dilute. Well, therefore, yeah, dilution is a smart thing to do, no? Right? I mean, duh. So if they're worse off without dilution, then dilution would have been a good idea. So you're just telling me that GME is doing well, regardless, right? Even the worst thing that they do apparently is dilution, right? Is helping the company too. So again, it's, to me, the company is doing much better than any other company out there that are losing money. And on top of that, if they were to choose to dilute, what happened? Leadership would just spend money anyway, right? Into the economy without even think of a returning on investment whatsoever. Okay, so we have a different CEO for sure that kind of hoarding cash and trying to create shareholder equity from anywhere he deemed valuable. Okay, and since right now cash is more valuable than spending it without knowing what is going on with the tariffs, without knowing what is going on with the economy in the next a few years here, because there's no clear direction to deploy those cash. I mean, even Warren Buffett himself saying it, right? Through action here. Okay, he just doesn't say like, well, I don't see any opportunity. Although there's a hint there that he's actually waiting for that opportunity to come along. Now, many people would say like, well, it's a no-brainer, right? Why not Bitcoin, right? And so again, that's why there's comparison, since he's stepping down now. The new Warren Buffett is going to be, held to high esteem, and we've been comparing Brian Cohen and Larry Chain, or even the board of GME. It's kind of like wanting to fulfill that role in the 21st century, right? It's been compared that way. So who knows? And there are some people who think that Michael Michael Saylor is going to be that one, to fulfill that shoes too. And so, with Bitcoin, he just bought more Bitcoin recently. So, and the whole goal of MSDR, my strategy is to deploy cash, borrow money as much as possible, offering, shareholder equity in that market in order to buy into Bitcoin. Now, I was going to show a video of MSDR, having that convertible bonds, but also to a fixed income product. Okay, those fixed income products I've talked about, touch it on a little bit here, but there were two that is in the market that you and I could buy now. That pays 10% in perpetuity. Okay, 10% bond without any. It's not that there's no risk or anything like that, but as long as you hold that bond, you're going to get 10%. And the reason being is that if you were to look at Bitcoin, okay, because that's going to be the play, is that he is trying to accumulate as many Bitcoin as humanly possible in a short period amount of time, as humanly as possible, okay? So you just keep doubling down until, the underlying asset won't support that anymore, which is MSDR, okay? How many people are willing to buy into MSDR and convert, right? And the volatility play on both sides too is going to be very enticing for people to keep coming back for more, because they could play it on both sides, right? The same way with GME. If GME were to do the same exact playbook and accumulating Bitcoin for that reason, I think there's a better, smarter way to do this. Just my thought here. Of course, I don't know if it's smart or not, but if we don't want the too volatile of a return here, technically we could buy one of those bonds that pays 10%. Imagine if he were to do that instead of buying Bitcoin. Yes, the Bitcoin community gonna be like booing, but the cash pile that we have would be paid in 10%. Yes, it's exposure to Bitcoin too. If you want to do 8%, there's two different product here. One pays 10%, the other one paid 8% fixed, but then the ability to convert some shares, convert it into shares eventually in the future. Okay, so whichever one GME were, I'm hoping anyway. I think whichever one he would buy using that $1.5 billion that we raised through convertible notes, whether it's 10% or 8%, it's still a good deal. Now, I would want Brian to buy straight up Bitcoin just to have the underlying asset. And then if he wants to leverage the cash, and in a safe way, right? Because the risk is on MSDR, shareholder. If we were to buy into those Strife, right? Strife or Strike? I get them both kind of mixed up. But let's just say like the 10% bond, because there's no convertibility there, but you get a 10% fixed income per year as long as you hold that bond, okay? And so I think that's much better than the US Treasury, because again, there's no way to dilute that at all, right? And so as long as that bond exists, you get 10% of whatever money you put in there. I mean, 10% of $1.5 billion is $150 million a year just to put on that Strife, right? And so again, yes, there's some risk to expose to Bitcoin per se, or MSDR. if the underlying asset goes down, that bond will still pay 10% fixed income here. So the headache it would be to MicroStrategy, but because they are the biggest, corporation that own the most amount of Bitcoin right now, the number one in the world, they could issue the debt to income ratio. Like so, the over. If you were to rate it based on the current way of evaluating, how much leverage you could lever up your asset, it's the safest thing, because the underlying asset is like 2 to 1. Okay, so it should be rated as a triple A. If it's but again, because it's accounted in Bitcoin, right? It's going to give people the idea that it's just too risky. We can't put value into that. That's BS, by the way. But again, yeah, only time will tell. But for those people who could spot this early on, they would understand that hey, this is actually a better way to store value. Okay, and yes, experience the upside too, because people just don't understand it quite yet, right? Again, much the same way as GME diluting shareholder and adding share equity into the company. MSTR the same way. The more the dilute, the more Bitcoin you have per share. Okay, right? You could see that kind of evidence based on historical data here, right? So when you kind of price your share that way, when you have more Bitcoin per share, then the original owner of MSDR would have more and more Bitcoin per share if they haven't sold yet, right? Because of the volatility and all that stuff. So had you held MSDR since its inception and never sold it, then you would have had more Bitcoin per share from that. Okay. And so it's actually adding value to the shareholder due to the Bitcoin prices, right? Assuming if Bitcoin would keep going up in price, which I think it's going to do because of the debasement, right? And so I think that's a genius way to operate. But in my opinion, yes, it can be that juggernaut where he's just gonna continue to churn it that way. And so those product that is in the market right now, whoever wants to give them money to buy more Bitcoin, which yes, we've talked about who would buy those bonds, right? Who would want to risk that much? Well, there are tons of institutions out there that are unable to expose themselves to Bitcoin legally. And so pension fund and other, money manager who cannot buy a certain bond, only a certain bond could be placed, could be bought. And these type of thing is kind of yield pretty high. 10% is pretty good, right? And so, yes, even with some risk, as long as you understand the strategy, you're going to buy it, right? And hold. And if you believe in the Bitcoin idea, network, and all that stuff, that Bitcoin is going to go higher due to the money policy again, right? Circle back there. So Bitcoin went up to 94,000 still, and when with those chaos and all that stuff. So remember when it was 76,000 or 60 something thousand just a couple weeks ago, people think it's gonna go falling off the sky, right? So with that type of prediction, right, it's inevitable that it's going to go higher because the herd keep telling you that it's going to go lower. And the minute when retail sells, right, institution keep buying, especially MicroStrategy, right? Microseller, keep buying into strategies. So, and they're planning to dilute even more just to get more Bitcoin until they couldn't anymore. Right? And so, yes, there's still a lot more runway than you think MSDR has. Now, as far as the earnings, if you were to look at the earnings for MSDR right now, you would see like $5 billion loss, stuff like that. It's just the accounting, okay? Because they only take an account from 3 months ago. So each quarter, mark to market, when they bought the, Bitcoin, back in those days, it came down from there, right? And so it's just a snapshot in time that they're able to say, well, based on that buys and this current amount of asset that you have in Bitcoin came down from there. So that's why you see that it was an unrealized loss of $5 billion. So that's how it should be accounted. But because again, it's just the nature of how the company is being accounted. And so if they were to account it as a financial instrument, then it would have been valuated differently. Okay. So the loss would show as a, liability instead of asset versus liability and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just not misreport, but more like the actual reason why it's minus $5 billion is not being told clearly unless you know what the company is doing. Now, ever since then, he never sold Bitcoin in order to, pay that off yet. So, and every convertible notes that he has to pay back mature, it was 5 years ago, right? And so those are very low low amount of money and to still be alarmed or anything like that, right? Anyway, it's pretty difficult when I do this without any I don't have any notes in front of me, actually. Just going off by memories right now. Yeah. Sorry, if you're just joining, I have no way of reading your chat today. I'm so sorry. My computer is acting up. I can't even open any Chrome, any what is it? Browser. So apologize for that. So with that being said, though, I think it's better to just end it completely. But yeah, just a quick thank you here for people who are joining live, and yeah, maybe tomorrow will be a better day. I hope I don't have to buy any new computer quite yet, because I'm feeling like, oh my gosh. So things are crashing right now. Ooh, scary. But anyway, don't freak out. I know everything's gonna be fine. Just understand that yes, some chaos might be kicking in because of the currency and all of that. But devaluation, right? It's like deleveraging is not a pretty thing, but it needs to be done at some point. So, either Jerome has to lower the rate within these 2 days, or but even then, please understand, when the Fed lower the rate, it means that your dollar is going to be devalued over time. Okay, just means that if you don't have any assets like Bitcoin, like equity, GME, okay, like gold, like anything, or even real estate, right? You're not going to be able to survive the next 10, 15 years. Okay. Because everything else is going to go higher in price as well in terms of dollar. Okay. All right, guys. I'll let you go. Okay. And I'll see you when I see you.